Previously on the Generation Y Conservative podcast.
There's a big weekend. Big weekend going on.
Is it?
Yeah, pretty good.
I mean,
I don't know.
I mean, what's the Patriots winning another Super Bowl? It's not a big weekend. I mean, it's commonplace.
And I knew you would say such a thing. So I thought a fun, friendly wager may be in the works. So I think, and make it friendly and easy to do, right? On next week's podcast, if the Eagles win, I bring all my Eagles gear that I have for you to wear on it.
See, this isn't a good
wager,
because I'm not
wager.
really a Patriots fan.
Well, yeah, but you're so sure. You chimed in with my New England family going against me all the time. That's a pretty easy one.
Regardless of it being the Patriots, you wearing a Cowboys jersey would be pretty nice.
Is that the wager you want to do?
Okay. All right. I fucking hate you.
This is the Generation Y Conservative podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to the Generation Y Conservative Podcast. I'm glad that you could join us tonight. If you're watching right now, you may be watching us on Facebook Live, which is streaming. We usually do that, and then the episode goes up on YouTube and other channels later on. You can find the Generation Y Conservative by searching for it on Facebook and on YouTube. I certainly encourage you to go over to YouTube and hit the subscribe button on the channel and get notifications for it as well. As you can see at the bottom of the screen right now, you can also follow me and interact with me on Twitter by searching for @GenYConservative without the E on the end. And if you are interested on Sundays from 3 to 6 p.m., you can also find me on KLRN Internet Radio, where they broadcast this podcast over again between that time frame. And they have also been gracious enough to put me onto the iTunes store. You can find that under the Generation Y Conservative by KLRN Internet Radio. So check that out as well. So we had our little wager. We had a little wager on the football game, and as you can see, the Cowboys fan lost.
Oh God,
he was not happy.
Not happy at all.
He was not happy about the text messaging going back and forth about the wager that we had. So
couldn't stop one third down or fourth down. Freaking Belichick.
Can I say? Let's go through the game here. We're going to make it quick. We have a couple things we want to talk about, but that's certainly, this is not the type of topics that we discuss. You know what I mean? But what I will say is, start of the game, okay? Pink sang the national anthem, right? Everyone at the party that I went to stood up for the national anthem. I don't know. Were you at a party or were you just
No, I was
home?
at my parents' house.
Yeah.
But we stand.
Yeah? I thought it was pretty cool because I admit in the past I didn't, and you know, if there's one thing that this whole controversy did, it put it in my mind. All right, yeah, this is what I'm going to do from now on. You know, so I thought that was pretty interesting, and so it was a good game. You have to admit it was a good game. It was exciting. It's what a Super Bowl is supposed to be. It wasn't a blowout either way, even though I was hoping for it on the Eagles to blow them out, but. Man, two good teams going up against each other, and it was a nail-biter till the end.
Two good offenses.
Literally the end.
Two good offenses.
Yeah.
Two crappy defenses.
Oh, I thought the Eagles' defense did fantastic.
Come on. Each team was shredding the other defense, going up and down the field, back and forth, back and forth. I mean,
so, I have some of my favorite plays that I picked out. They're going to be quick. There's only 4 of them and everything, but this was, let's talk about this one real quick.
By McLeod, Stasky for a 26-yard field goal attempt, which is juggled, and then he hits the upright. Cardona was the snapper attempt.
It's going to be bobbled inside somehow. Allen gets it back on the tee, and Gostkowski tried to slide back to the right, but caught the upright. And for Bill Belichick, what a disappointment. He was telling us he felt like the
So Tony Romo came out of retirement.
I say this in a funny way. Obviously, I'm not a football player. I probably couldn't do it myself, but you had one job. It's the only thing you do, right?
To be fair, it was not a good snap. I mean, the snap was
there was two.
low
I would
and
say
inside.
there was two people
So,
that were at fault there and everything.
Yeah.
So I thought that one was pretty interesting. This one, I by far was cracking. I couldn't
everybody
get enough of this.
was.
And the ball is handed off to Brandon Cooks, who tries to hurdle and.
So we were just talking last week about the XFL returning and everything and the WWE roots behind that. When he tried to jump over him and they just took him and just body slammed him down, oh my gosh. Even my wife, who's a Patriots fan, was cracking up about that
you
one.
know, Ezekiel Elliott hurdles guys a lot. And normally the defender always tries to go low.
Yes.
This guy just didn't. He just didn't go low, so it was a total fail. I mean, if he would have gone low, it would have been an awesome looking play, but nope.
Now, I know I'm going to get in trouble for the next one here because I know how we're going to talk about Eagles fans later, right? But I know the reputation for Eagles fans with injuries and everything. I wasn't applauding this injury, but man, was it nasty. It was a nasty injury, so let's take a look at that one.
37-yard line, Brady stepping up, deep downfield, wide open, Brandon Cooks. And he gets smacked down at the 40-yard line, taking some shot there by Jenkins, who was spinning around, and he is down.
So he was out.
That was brutal.
He was out in the air. Like when he hit the ground, he had already been out for a good couple, you know. I mean, that was.
It was helmet to helmet, but he was already a runner.
He turned around into
he was already.
it.
He wasn't a defenseless receiver at that point.
But
that was brutal.
Yeah, it was an accident though on the Eagles.
I don't think it was on purpose or anything.
He was running around circles. They were just coming at him from every direction, you know. In that kind of fashion. Okay.
And that was their deep threat receiver too. That was a big loss for the Patriots that early in the game. Brandon Cooks. Yep.
So, and of course I saved the best for last year. So let's take a look at a comparison of plays.
Meanwhile, 3rd down and 5 here. And now you got it flipped back here to Danny Amendola, who throws, and it's Brady who can't haul it in.
Is just going to hand off and then ignore like he's not doing anything, and there he goes. And immediately Chris Long knew he was in trouble, and Brady with the bad hand and no tape. You wonder.
And they're going to snap it, and it's Trey Burton who throws, caught. Foles, touchdown.
And watch all the action. Foles is going to sneak over here, direct snap, everybody comes up, and here we go. What a play call by Doug Peterson. This play call has a chance to be remembered as one of the all-time greats, just going for it. And
I have to admit, that was probably the highlight of the game. Everyone in the house was going nuts when this happened and everything. And I honestly thought, until earlier this week, that they basically took Brady's play and just wanted to shove it in the Patriots' face, that they hadn't actually practiced this type of play and everything.
Way.
But when you actually, there's a video out there.
It's so well executed.
It was perfect. But then they also had the mics on the field videos this week that they released of like actual conversations. And
another innovation by the original XFL.
There you go. Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was actually, it was really cool. But there you have to go back and watch that video for the whole Super Bowl, like all the players talking and everything. And like when they went for it on 4th down, one of the Patriots players was sitting on the bench and he's like, they're not going to do it. They're not going to go for it. And then afterwards he's like, they went for it. They did it. I'm surprised, you know.
I forget which. I forget who I was listening to. It was either like the First Take guys on ESPN or Skip on Skip and Jam. But someone was saying that the Eagles won that game in their planning in the 2 weeks ahead of time. They basically decided no matter what, they are going to press and be aggressive the entire game.
You can't let up on Brady.
They weren't going to play conservatively and then wonder what happened at the end, And they were saying that game, I think it was Colin Cowherd. That play was drawn up. If we get to the point where we're 4th down in the at the 2, we're going for it, and this might be something we do. It was just,
But for it to happen almost immediately after the Patriots try and can't pull it off and everything.
But the Patriots have done that play and they've always executed it. I've seen it in other games.
Actually, I saw a history of what team originally started and everything. I think it was a college play, and then the NFL copied it, and obviously
hook and ladder or something.
Yeah, something like that. But it was just the fact that they pulled it off after Brady tried doing it. And we were having a conversation before the podcast because obviously you're stewing in anger. The fact that you have to wear this. But we're having a conversation about, I personally
Do I have to wear this the whole podcast?
Oh, yeah. We had a conversation about how I personally believe, and you don't agree on this, but I personally believe that Gronk, Belichick, and Brady are going to retire within the next year. Whether that's after this coming season, it's within the year. They're going to be retired.
After this coming season.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I personally think it'll happen before the next season. But
So you think this will be their swan song? That's how they're going to go out?
Yeah, and here's the reason why. Yeah. With the play that we just watched there, right? They played the side-by-side comparison of the Eagles versus the Brady doing the same thing throughout that Super Bowl. Like, that was embarrassing for Brady. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the one commentary...
That's more reason I don't think he's going to retire.
But this is the other part. And this could go both ways, and I'm going to agree with you on this. His reaction can go either way, but the commentary coming from the sports people, anchors and everything, is when they saw him just... He couldn't get the speed. He couldn't get the hands out there. He couldn't catch. Yeah. They're like, I think it was Bill Burr.
It was on his fingertips. Like,
Bill
it was
Burr
just out of bat. Like,
was on Conan, and he's like, man, that just makes you feel a lot younger because Brady is just so old now. He can't do it anymore, you know? And that was the commentary on, like, he can't be the Brady that he used to be.
But that's not, I mean, that's like a trick play, but that's not, Brady's not a scrambler. He never was.
I understand that.
When he was a rookie, his 40 in the combine is like the most pathetic thing you've ever seen. He's still, I mean, just watching him throw the ball, even in the Super Bowl, I mean, he's got zip on the ball. He's accurate. Yeah. I mean, he's a pocket passer. Yeah. He's not a runner, so that's.
I said personally, I think he had 3 really incredible long passes that like made the mark and everything. But I thought, and this is saying something. He had a great game, but I still think it was the worst game that he's played this season. I think so. And it wasn't Brady that lost the game. There were obviously a bunch of other things. You said the cornerback was benched.
Yeah,
the fact that Cooks went out early. You had Brady getting, right in the end there. That was pretty incredible, too. The amount of penalties that were thrown was next to nothing, right? You also had both quarterbacks really didn't get sacked. Yeah. The end there, right in the last, 2 minutes?
That was the only sack in the game.
Yeah, that was it.
Yep.
So you can't say both defenses were bad when they kept everyone from the quarterbacks. That was pretty good.
No, that means the offenses were good. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, the defenses were bad.
Yeah, but defense. Okay,
they were bad. I mean, there is no. I mean, not starting their starting cornerback. The Patriots really just needed 1 or 2 third down stops throughout the entire game, and they could have won. Especially at the end when it was 4th and 1. If they stopped them there, game's over. Now, granted, they didn't. I know they didn't. Yes, but
like I said, the saying, if they had done better, they would have won.
Yeah, exactly. but the other thing, the other part where I think that they won the game, the Eagles, was the Patriots always defer when they win the coin toss because they like to get the ball at the end of the first half, score, and then get it back right away again at the second half and score again. They scored at the end of the first half. And then the Eagles, instead of just like running the clock out and just going into halftime, they came right back down and scored again. That was a killer right there. So, I mean, it was just, there was. I noticed how on your favorite plays you left out the reviewed touchdowns, I'll say.
Yeah, well, I figured you would want to talk about that anyway because, that was one thing that you were complaining about online on Facebook. I saw the one post and everything. But that's not really on the teams. It's on the refs, like you said.
Yeah.
It's the fact that...
And I will say, and I said this too.
That was a touchdown.
To me, those were both catches.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the XFL, those will be catches.
Yeah.
But by the stupid rules of the NFL, the second one was not a catch.
By the rules, I understand that.
There is a photo.
But he was counted as a runner at that point.
No, that's the second one.
Okay.
The first one.
I thought you said second one.
Yeah, I did. The first one, the ball kind of came and kind of went in his arm like this, and then he readjusted it. And there's a photo where his hand's not on the ball, and his foot is on the line. That one should have been out of bounds. And if it was, you have to say, say,
for consistency.
if it was, yes,
Okay.
and you have to say, if it was Gronk and they called it a touchdown, the Eagles, I think it was Colin Cowherd said, the Eagles would be reopening the Continental Congress and have some kind of like mutiny against the referees.
Here's the thing though, on the two penalty, the refs I thought were hilarious.
Yeah.
Because the first penalty that was thrown, that ref had such a huge smile and laughing on his face, and everyone in the house was like, "Oh, he's saying to himself, we gotta call a penalty, we gotta throw something out there," type thing. Yeah. And then the one touchdown, which may have been the one that you're talking about, the two refs ran up and they're both standing there and they're looking at each other for a second, and then they were like, "Touchdown," and you're like, they didn't want to call it.
So that one after the review, I thought it was pretty clear that it bobbled and his second foot after he got control was out of bounds. The second one, that was a catch. That's a touchdown.
Yes,
But as a Cowboys fan, I saw a video comparing Des Bryant's play against the Packers. That was not a catch. It was the exact same thing. He caught it, turned, had control, dove, hit the ground, the ball came out. So, like, it's the consistency of the NFL and these stupid rules,
Yeah, it's always changing.
It's dumb.
It's ridiculous.
And that's why, shortly before the game, the XFL actually did put out a video of like animated stick figure videos of like they score a touchdown, the referee goes and comes back out, like, we don't know what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. And then at the
I don't
bottom,
know what to do with my hands.
Yeah, it's and then he just starts talking about random things, about catches and stuff, and then at the bottom it just said the XFL, where a catch is a catch. Yeah, like it's just gonna be a catch.
Matt made a great point. He said nobody knows what a catch is anymore.
Nope.
So here's one cool thing. Oh, you know what? Before we go on, now you and I had a back and forth conversation via text message last night, I think it was, in regards to, I believe I saw Foles on camera saying to someone, I went out into the field, I was looking for Brady after the game to shake his hand like almost every other game does, where the quarterbacks meet up, congratulate each other, do a whole great game type thing, sportsmanship, and walk away. He said he looked for Brady, he couldn't find him. Yeah. Now, you had mentioned that that's consistent with what he does and what Manning did, and probably some other people too.
I'm sure, yeah.
My counter to that, and I'm taking your half of the conversation and my half of the conversation. My counter to that was the fact that despite how we feel about celebrities and athletes and stuff like that, these are people that kids and teens look up to, right? And this isn't something controversial to congratulate another player. It's sportsmanlike, gentleman conduct that if Brady's consistent, he's consistently a douchebag for not doing it. That's just my opinion on it. Be a gentleman. Go out, congratulate him. If you're pissed off, do a quick shake and get the heck off the field. You know what I mean? But you're showing to a bunch of people
we're
that
taught as kids to line up and say good game.
Yeah, you go down the line, you slap hands.
What I had seen afterwards,
you showed some pictures.
Was that he
Jenkins
apparently some rookie. I think I have it up still, but he stopped. Yeah, Bennett. Let's see. Yeah, Barnett. He stopped Barnett underneath and congratulated him. And he's a rookie. And Barnett said he was super cool and talking to me and everything. And so we never know. I mean, you want the visual. And
look, anymore, it's like what's said. What's not said says a lot. Look at the Democrats in the State of the Union. Them not saying anything, not doing anything says a lot about who they are, right? So whether you're on camera or off camera, what you do says a lot about that situation. So he may have been cool behind the scenes and everything with the Eagles players and everything, but not being on camera and doing that sportsmanlike conduct in the freaking Super Bowl of all games, that says a lot to some people too. A lot of people too, in my mind. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, he has been stewing so hard in anger on this thing. But hey, there is one thing that we can come together on, right?
What's that?
We mentioned that before the podcast. The NFC East is the only division that everyone has a Super Bowl ring down. So suck it. You can hang your hat on that.
The Eagles were the last one to get one. Doesn't make me happy that record now exists.
So here's one more thing that I thought was really cool.
Why do we got to be different?
One more thing that I thought was really cool was the fact that we have been talking for the last couple podcasts, and throughout the whole season. Honestly, we talked about during the Panthers game or right before the Panthers game, the Eagles were baptizing players in the pool of the hotel. You have Nick Foles and Carson Wentz outwardly speaking out about God, the prayers, all this stuff. So it was really cool to be on the national stage of the Super Bowl, and the first words out of these guys' mouths was glory to God. So let's take a look at that real quick.
Congratulations, Coach. Come on in. What was going through your mind that last pass by Brady?
I was hoping it was incomplete. I just wanted it to be on the ground, and I wanted to see that clock go 0-0.
How do you explain this, that 9 years ago you're coaching in high school and here you are with this trophy?
I can only give the praise to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for giving me this opportunity. And I'm going to tell you something. I got the best players in the world.
Let's bring in Zach Ertz, caught the game-winning touchdown. What was that feeling like? You're in the huddle and you know that play is being called. What are you thinking?
I better score. I mean, glory to God first and foremost. We wouldn't be here without him. This team is amazing. I mean, each and every day we go out there, we love to practice. And I think that's the foundation of this team. And wow, what a run it's been.
Let's bring in your MVP, Nick Foles. Just another game, right, Nick?
Yeah, just another game. Unbelievable. All glory to God. Obviously, Lily really likes this mic. We're very blessed.
Super Bowl MVP, Nick Foles. Underdogs no more. The Philadelphia Eagles are the Super Bowl champions. Congratulations.
So pretty cool.
I guess God doesn't care about all the Christians on the 31 other teams.
They weren't outspoken like the Eagles were, that's for sure. Okay, so while we're on the topic,
it was interesting to see that though, because that's the first time I saw any of that.
Oh, it is?
As soon as the game was over, I turned it off.
Okay, so going along the whole faith situation with the Eagles, according to the Daily Wire, Tony Dungy came under fire for statements about Christianity and faith in regards to the Eagles win, and he responded in kind. So NBC sports analyst and former NFL coach Tony Dungy has been hit with a backlash after making approving statements about Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Nick Foles' Christian faith. On air, Dungy suggested that Foles' faith would help him play with confidence and boost his performance. He echoed this strain of thought on social media and reported that Foles, who is likewise open about his Christian faith, told him. Dungy's tweet that set off people said the following: after all the celebrations and confetti, Justin caught up with the three Eagles QBs, Nick Foles, Carson Wentz, and Nate Sudfeld, along with Zach Ertz, who scored the winning touchdown. They were in a room by themselves praying and thanking God. It was great for him to see that. Here's some of the responses that were mentioned in tweets that went back to that. At Tony Dungy, unbelievable you would use your employer at NBC Sports to spout this nonsense on the air. And another one that said, I'm just not wanting it as part of football analysis. Humans are not the Holy Spirit. So Dungy responded to these two. First, the first one, which was that you would use your employer to spout the nonsense. He said, NBC pays me to express my opinion. And it was my opinion that Nick Foles would play well because his Christian faith would allow him to play with confidence and that he's a good quarterback. I think I was right on both accounts. This is my favorite one here, the one that said that she doesn't want it as part of her football analysis, that humans are not the Holy Spirit. He said, why would you find it hard to believe that the Holy Spirit could speak to Nick Foles just as much as a coach could speak to him? If he credited a coach for saying stay calm and be confident, that's good. But if he tells me Christ says that to him, I shouldn't report it. So Kyle Koster, who writes at the Big Lead, said NBC and the public should check Dungy when his religious beliefs seep into his analyst role. He said, Dungy expressing his beliefs on his personal time and platform is one thing, and even if I disagree with him sometimes, I appreciate his candor and willingness to open himself up for criticism. But when his beliefs seep into the analyst role, either unintentionally or otherwise, they should be checked both by NBC and the public. And that's what he wrote in a piece titled Tony Dungy Analyzing or Evangelizing when it comes to Nick Foles as a question. So I find this incredibly hypocritical and funny. to say the least. You know, we go all season long, and half of last season too, with people saying, you know, that there's, with people like us saying there's no place in the football. It's entertainment. Like, get the political crap out of it, right? And stop with the kneeling and everything. And people are like, oh no, this is their freedom of speech and everything. They should be able to kneel and do whatever they want. And then the second guy talks about God, it's like, whoa, keep your religious beliefs out of the game. Are you kidding me? This is football. It's like maybe a little hypocrisy on both sides, but politically, that's making a protest and a statement. This is them talking about what is encouraging them throughout the game. I see a little bit of a distinction, but I can see how people would see hypocrisy from both sides.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that if the Eagles players weren't being so, you know, forthcoming and expressive about their faith, and then that's one thing, but they are, so he's reporting on it, so you know, it's not like it's just coming out of nowhere, you know? So.
So, here we go. Mike now he has a smile on his face here. So, Mike wants to talk about the Eagles fans and what they were doing in the city of Philadelphia after the Super Bowl game.
We have to explain to the viewers why Eagles fans haven't and shouldn't get nice things.
All right, let's take a look. Okay, so first of all, let me explain the first two in that video, okay? What I saw was people carrying a post, a light post and everything. Yeah. Did they take it down, or were they going back to install something to help out the city? I don't know. Second video, a guy could have lost his keys under the car. They lifted it up to help him out and find it. The second two.
No, keep going. I want to see you explain the last one. See, I was telling you last night too.
The passion.
Yeah, I was telling you last night too. Every city could be accused of getting a little rowdy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what sets Philadelphians apart is eating horse poop for fun. All right, that's the great differentiator.
Yeah.
Right. But one thing that I kind of saw was interesting about this was I came across an article on the Blaze actually that was talking about a Black Lives Matter leader says the response to Philly riots is a quote glaring example of white privilege.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I was telling you that to a degree with what he says in here, I agree with him.
Okay.
To a degree. I think the whole white privilege thing, I mean, we've talked about how that's just like whatever.
Yeah.
But you know, so the police officers, they were, you know, obviously there were lots of riots and people destroying things like we saw in the videos, and the one police captain was out saying that they've had several reports of acts of vandalism where windows had been smashed, injuries reported around light poles that have been pulled down, so no, not been installed. And we have one report of looting at a gas station. There have been no
I'm surprised you didn't give me that video, because that was just ridiculous.
Yeah. So now one of the Philadelphia Police Sergeant Brian Greer on Twitter wrote, "Still going strong in the EOC, but if everyone could just go home, that would be great. We have to get some rest and start planning for the parade."
Why do I have a feeling that some of these Eagles fans were out there from Sunday to Thursday?
Yeah. So that was the police response. Hey, everybody, let's just go home, and we got to start planning for the parade, you know. So this guy who has a great name, by the way, Hawk Newsom, president of Black Lives Matter New York, spoke with Newsweek and basically was quoted saying, "Somehow it seems that there's a line drawn in the sand where destruction of property because of a sports victory is okay and acceptable in America. No. However, if you have people who are fighting for their most basic human rights, the right to live, they will be condemned." He noted that he believed it was it was a glaring example of white privilege, saying you can riot if you're white and your team wins, but if you're black and being killed, you can't speak out. He kind of compared it to the riots in Baltimore after the Freddie Gray death, saying it makes me think about Baltimore because I was there the day the riots started. You could feel tension in the air. The rioters were so angry that they didn't know how to express themselves any other way.
Oh my gosh, what
right?
a load of horse
Here's
crap.
where I said
that
I don't agree with
what
this.
Eagles fan was eating.
Yeah, right. That's why they were rioting. It's not like they were doing it in the name of fun. I wish they wouldn't riot, but I can't condemn them. I disagree. You can condemn them.
Yes, exactly.
And that neither can anyone else, especially not the media, especially not politicians, when they condone people who are just drunk and destroying property because their team won. So, yeah, I don't agree with that at all. I saw another. There was a Twitter post when they were flipping the car over, and the guy in the white jersey turns around, he's going nuts, and someone said, "Where's the tear gas and the rubber bullets?" And I agree with that.
No,
now I don't think you should not use the tear gas and the rubber bullets.
Right, you should on the Eagles fan too.
Yes, they both should be condemned and aren't acceptable. But it is a double standard. There is something to it.
I don't think that there was a double standard there. I don't think that the police...
Only 3 arrests the night of.
I think that the circumstances that we see in these videos, I guarantee you if there was more stuff going on, more stuff would have been caught on video because everybody's taking video all the time. So I think that these isolated incidents outweighed media attention on as a whole because Philadelphia came out en masse into the streets, right? And by and large, it was a celebration, not destruction. You know, these incidents were what they were. Now, before we go on with that, because I have something to say personally about what he said about the comparison to Black Lives Matter. You said that you agree with something. Did you mention what you agreed with already?
I said to a degree. I think that there should have been, when in the situations needed, more force used. Not saying that there shouldn't be. Right. That's where I disagree. Yep. I think he's saying hey, if they got it easy, we should get it easy too. Yeah. I'm thinking, no, if you're getting it tough, they should get it tough too.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to take it a step further. Yeah. With the Eagles fans being at the top of everybody's crap list all the time about the worst fans in Philadelphia, about the worst fans in the nation, US, right? I would actually say, because of the same things being done in other areas like the Black Lives Matter protests where they're taking rubber bullets and tear gas, that maybe we should step it up and start doing that to some of these Eagles fans and actually temper out some of this tension that they keep on bringing to all these events, right? Maybe it'll set in their head a little bit I got rubber bullet the last time. Maybe I'll calm down a little bit this time.
The whole point is to learn your lesson.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And okay, so I agree with you that they should be treated the same. My whole thing is I completely disagree on this whole white privilege thing and the comparison, right? Here's the thing. Pull out the Black Lives Matter message, okay? Because I think we've talked about this in the past. They have good reason there with the messaging, right? How they approach that in terms of spreading that message and getting it out there has had its big faults. We both believe that, right? Yeah. So we take the whole Black Lives Matter message out and we focus purely on the idiots who go and vandalize and loot things, right? Then you go to the Eagle side of the formula there and you focus on these idiots again that were in this video, and you take out the mass amount of people in the city that came out just for a celebration in the city, right? And that you take out the sports from the equation, right? These morons, in both cases, I see literally as animals that are looking for any excuse to go out and do those types of things.
Yeah, it's true.
Destructive things. I don't think that they care what the messaging is behind Black Lives Matter, and I don't think that these Eagle fans that actually ended up doing this stuff cared anything about the game itself. They were looking for a reason to get out there and be a fool.
I think they cared about the game, but then the drunk versions of themselves didn't care about the game at that point anymore.
No, because it was over.
So, I just thought it was interesting. The Blaze didn't even really have a rebuttal or anything. They just reported the quotes and that was it.
Oh, geez.
Kind of odd.
Reporting facts. So that was obviously one of the reasons why the people tuned into the game was people across America love football. That's I think it's America's sport. Some people say baseball. I don't see how that could even be possible compared to football. No way. Yeah. Maybe I think that ended back in the 60s or 70s, to be honest with you, before our time, Yeah. But there's another reason why people tune in for the Super Bowl, and that's the commercials, right? Now, we saw some really good commercials.
What was your favorite?
First of all, I went personally nerding. I nerded out, right?
For the movie ones.
Yeah, for the movie ones specifically. We have the Han Solo story coming out this spring, basically spring-summer time frame, right? And we haven't seen a trailer yet. Yeah. And I sat there for the past 2 weeks, and I'm like, they got to release it before the Super Bowl. If they don't release it before the Super Bowl, it's got to be at the Super Bowl. And they didn't do any marketing leading up to it. They didn't say, hey, tune into the Super Bowl to catch the first trailer, right? So when they showed that trailer, and it looks good. Yeah. They did a good visual stuff in it, Yep. So I nerded out on that. I keep on saying this over and over again. I don't care how many dinosaur movies you make. I will go see every damn one of them for Jurassic World, Jurassic Park, and everything like that. I love those movies. Even the really bad ones, like the one turns in the airplane and starts talking to Dr. Grant. And he wakes up, it's a dream, of course, and everything. But we also saw previews for the new Mission Impossible movie and a 30-second peek at the new Avengers movie, which we're really excited about, too.
There was a rock movie, too, Skyscraper.
Skyscraper, yeah.
Looked pretty, I don't know.
It has a fake leg in it and everything jumps off.
Interesting.
I don't know. Yeah. I think there was even a Black Panther ad, too, which is coming out next week. Holy crap.
Yep.
I can't wait for that. Of course, I did talk to two of my friends that you would think would want to go see it with me and do a movie review, and they said that they wanted to go see it with their brothers of color. So I don't know. Kind of seems a little racist to me, but whatever.
So apparently, Black Panther is not going to be a
you can't
uniting.
Judge my soul.
Yeah,
you can't judge my soul. Are you kidding me? Yeah. So these were good commercials, right? There were a couple funny ones. I think the Tide commercials were really funny.
They were pretty funny.
They have some bad PR going on right now with this whole Tide Pod challenge. Crap going.
Someone had written on my Facebook page, like, oh, they must have made a lot of money from selling all these Tide Pods to idiots, and they got a lot of money for Super Bowl spots.
By the way,
so I like the Danny DeVito M&M one. When
I didn't catch that one.
Danny DeVito, the red M&M turned into Danny DeVito, and he looks like the M&M guy. His shape and size. So it was pretty funny.
And I thought you meant Eminem the rapper. So
no.
I think I did see it, but I couldn't hear with the whole crowd in the room and everything. But there were some commercials that were not so good.
Oh man.
As former employees of this company, we're a little upset. So let's take a look at first a T-Mobile ad that got a little political. So let's take a look at that.
Welcome to the world, little ones. Yeah, it's a lot to take in. But you come with open minds and the instinct that we are equal. Some people may see your differences and be threatened by them. But you are unstoppable. You'll love who you want. You'll demand fair and equal pay. You will not allow where you come from to dictate where you're going. You will be heard, not dismissed. You will be connected, not alone. Change starts now.
Okay, so first of all, you shake your head. And I do too, because we know, we know what the message is.
Yeah.
First of all, though, is anything that they said, is anything there something that you disagree with?
No.
No, not at all, right? But what are they trying to say to the audience?
That you have to vote a certain way
this
to get
is a
this
message
stuff to happen.
This is a message against Trump.
The evil white patriarchy.
Yeah, it's a message against Trump and the Republicans because they are guilty of these things that they're talking about, right? which is completely untrue.
I mean, do we have to play the Obama and Hillary or Bill Clinton clips about immigration again from last week?
Right. I mean,
where they said all the same exact stuff Trump's been saying, but they weren't racist.
If you haven't seen that, I thought that was I don't see that really floating around there too much.
I remember seeing it during the election.
Go on to the Generation Y Conservative Facebook page and find that video. I just posted it earlier this week, and blow your liberal friends' minds.
God, Bill Clinton and Obama hated immigrants, it sounded
apparently. It's good to have an open conversation with your liberal friends and actually talk to them instead of like throwing things in their face right away. Because it's the same way with the way they talk to us and everything. It's the mudslinging doesn't get anyone anywhere and doesn't make anyone think because you put up a wall immediately. But if you were to say, listen, do you believe that Trump is racist, especially in regards to his immigration policies? They'll say, oh, absolutely. That's one of the main indicators of why he's a racist and everything. Okay. Do you think that some of our recent past presidents would have done things a lot differently in your mind, especially on your side of the aisle and everything? What do you think Obama would have said such things? I guarantee you they would say, oh, no, absolutely not. He would have handled this much better. It's almost word for word coming out of their mouths. They're all the same on what they're saying, And the transition between President Clinton and President Obama in that video is Obama literally taking Bill Clinton's phrase and pushing it. We're a nation of law. We're a nation of immigrants, but we're also a nation of laws. And pushing that right through. So it's just ridiculous.
Would be like one of those videos where they go out just saying the quotes, saying that Trump said it, getting people's reactions, and then at the end being like, "What if I told you that was
Obama.
Bill Clinton,
or
Barack Obama?"
Yeah.
And then they can't say anything about it.
No, because we are at the point now where, and we've talked about this in the past too, where the media doesn't report stories anymore; they opine on stories, right? So they are spoon feeding these stories of people, and all the stories that I see my liberal friends posting are from Occupy Democrats, and now this, and MSNBC, obviously, The Daily Show. These are all like
Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, late night.
Him a little bit later too.
Yeah.
But you never see them posting, and it's always hate videos from the other side too. And Occupy will put those videos together from Fox News and everything. So. But back to this T-Mobile ad here, there's nothing in there that really we disagree with. And like my wife said, if you have good parents, that's instilled in you.
Yeah.
Right? But they're talking about the gender pay gap and everything. You're going to demand an equal pay, right? The gender pay gap has been disproven so many times that even the liberal Washington Post did an article on it and said it's not true when compared dollar for dollar. But they still keep on perpetuating this and trying to pin this on the Republican side when it's not even true. They just keep on pushing these lies, It has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. It has everything to do with what we talk about all the time.
I saw a Mark Dice video about the commercials and stuff, and he said that T-Mobile forgot to leave out that statistically speaking, that Asian baby will be the one who makes the most money.
Right.
not the white one. Not the white male baby.
Listen, if we ever get to we ever have a story that comes up about oppression and where the minority community should be if it was for things like slavery and voting rights and everything like that. It's always interesting to go back and take a historical look at the effects of Pearl Harbor when we actually had internment camps here in America where we stripped the Asian community of everything that they had and kept them in these internment camps. And then when they got out, they completely turned their lives around and became the top of the food chain business-wise and were running everything because of what they did. It's a matter of how you take that and do something with it.
As you know, that I'm on a big Dave Ramsey kick. Right? I listen to his radio show every day. And he's done it a few times where he starts off segments saying, because he's all about personal finance and, getting rid of debt, building wealth, things like that. And he starts off a couple of times saying, doesn't matter how old you are, the color of your skin, your background, where you come from, your gender, your sexuality, none of this matters. Your ability to build wealth, it all comes down to your own decisions.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all it is. We live in the
personal responsibility.
Personal responsibility. And even when it comes to finances, he says that only 20% of it is head knowledge. 80% of it is your actions.
Absolutely.
You know, and so even before the election, he was saying whether it's Hillary, whether it's Bill, or whether it's Trump, everyone's freaking out, but whoever the president is will have about a 2% impact on your life.
Yes, absolutely.
You will have the biggest impact on your life and what you want to do with your time and things like that.
Look at how scared conservatives were under Obama, expecting an oppressive regime, and it's the exact same thing with the Trump. And where can conservatives really point out how Obama really oppressed the lives of them specifically? I mean, Obamacare, it's more money out of your wallet, and it really screwed up the healthcare system and everything. But it was an overreaction on our part, and I think we should learn from that, right? But the liberals should have learned from that too, by the way we acted, to not do the same mistakes on our side when Trump assumed office. And it just proves a conservative point that when you give someone so much imperial power to do something over the people, right? And you inflate that part of the government so much, you have to expect that power is going to switch hands at some point to the opposition. And you are going to be under that rule, and you're not going to like it. You like it when it's your person, but if you have inflated it so much, now they look at him as a tyrannical government. Well, he's not. But if you're that afraid of it, you should be with us, hand in hand, marching for a small government. Less control. Now, what were we talking about? You were talking about... back to the point what you were talking about earlier. It's also the difference between liberals and conservatives in regards to equality and stuff, and what you make of yourself throughout your life. The biggest difference, and we've talked about this in the past too, about the Declaration of Independence and what those words mean and what it means on both sides of the aisle for equality, right? All men are created equal, right? Specifically worded as created equal. Not all men are equal, right? Which is what the liberals want to read it as. All men are not equal. All men are created equal. All people are people kind are created equal. Just whatever you want to say, But the fact is, we all come into this world naked, screaming, right? What you do from there is how you end up in life, right? There is nothing there that promotes an equality of outcome. It's all equality at the starting line.
Dave Ramsey has another great video about that, saying basically in regards to wealth inequality. It's like, I don't want there to be wealth inequality or wealth equality. He's like, why should someone who works 80 hours a week make the same as someone who works 10?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. You know, what motivation does that give you to try and better yourself if you know that you can just everything just kind of evens out in the wash? You know. So it's pretty funny.
Another great point in regards to comparing capitalist systems, specifically ours, to heavy-leaning socialist systems or the European systems and stuff like that, is you have seen an eradication basically of philanthropy. Charitable giving, charitable giving, right? Because it's gotten it's gotten to the point in Europe where you have depended so heavily upon your taxes being taken out in most cases to where you're stripped of everything and the government takes care of everything, that you expect the government to take care of everything in regards to charity and stuff too. So America, for all the flaws that it has in the capitalist system and everything, we are the highest percentage of charitable giving.
By far.
By far, right? And it's because we allow people to make those choices when it comes to charity.
And also we're in a system where you can, if you want to, build wealth, you know?
Absolutely.
He just said today, wouldn't it be great to be able to give away $1 million to a charity or a, like the Cancer Research Fund or something like that? Well, to be able to do that, you have to have millions of dollars.
What makes a country of people better, right? Is it better of you to say that the government should take care of people? Is that you being a good person? Or is it the government doing less and you actually taking the money out of your pocket to give it to the homeless person on the street? That's making you a better person, not expecting someone else to be the better person for you. You know? So it's just ridiculous with things. So the other ad that caused some controversy on this was a Dodge Ram ad. I know Matt is tuned in right now, so maybe he can give his take on it. by commenting there, but here's a Dodge Ram commercial.
If you want to be important, wonderful. If you want to be recognized, wonderful. If you want to be great, wonderful. But recognize that he who is greatest among you shall be your servant. That's a new definition of greatness. By giving that definition of greatness, it means that everybody can be great. You don't have to know about Plato and Aristotle to serve. You don't have to know the theory of relativity to serve. You don't have to know the second theory of thermodynamics in physics to serve. You only need a heart full of grace. Soul generated by love.
So, that was a Dodge Ram commercial right there. So, what are your thoughts on it? I want to get your thoughts on it first before I go on.
Honestly, I just didn't think it was a good commercial. It just, I mean, the coolest part about it was the beginning, the text saying that 50 years ago today, this speech happened. I was like, oh, that's cool, 50-year anniversary of something. Like,
yeah, and that's a little-known sermon, too.
It just didn't tie to the product, and then they were getting all this flack about using this to sell something. But I read an article that the rights to that speech are owned by the King family. They sold it. They're the ones hawking out their ancestors' speech for $1. You know, so where is the blame? Where should the blame be pointed? So.
No, you're absolutely right on that.
Where were they saying that we don't think this is appropriate?
Yeah, what you're saying is they should, if you're going to be mad at anyone, be mad at the King family for selling off the rights to be used in a commercial like that. Now, I don't know of anyone who doesn't love sitting down just listening to some of his speeches. Yeah. He had a way. I mean, that's why he was who he was, and for the time that he was in, that he was such an influential figure. On the positive side of things, it's Black History Month.
Yep.
So they didn't specifically tie Black History Month into the commercial, besides the fact that they used Dr. King's words from that sermon and everything. But at the same time, you have that. You have the King's family who, sold the rights to it and everything. I agree with you. As a marketing person myself, my background's in marketing. I didn't feel it really tied in. If you're going based off of pure emotion, I guess it was a good commercial, honestly. I mean, it was good to hear such a positive message and the way it's delivered by Dr. King, and seeing the people in the commercial doing what they're doing, Yep. But you're right. The message didn't tie to that commercial for a truck.
Yeah, it should have been a commercial for a non-profit charity or something like that. Not just a truck.
Yeah, I mean, if you really wanted to celebrate Black History Month and get your product out there, the best way probably would have been to tie the sermon into the actions of people throughout the whole commercial without ever showing a truck, right? And then just end it with, we celebrate Black History Month, Dodge.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That would have been a heck of a lot better of an ad.
Yeah.
So you're still using the same words and everything.
Yeah. But they're trying to sell the truck, not their Dodge van. So they need to narrow it down.
Yeah. Could you imagine? That would have been even more of an uproar. Caravan. Town and country.
The windowless Dodge van.
What is it, the Bullet or whatever? No, the Bullet's actually kind of cool. Is that the sports car?
I think so, yeah.
I forget what that little crappy Dodge is.
I will say overall, though, there weren't, compared to last year, there weren't many political commercials. There was one right at the beginning, right when the game started. It was something about the little girl. It was an Olympic commercial.
The skier.
The skier, yeah.
Was it political? I couldn't hear it.
Well, it was where she wrote, always be faster than the boys. And then it was just little girls beating boys at everything throughout their whole life. I'm just like, give me a break.
Yeah.
But other than that, and then the other two, I know, right? The other two, there weren't a lot of political commercials.
I didn't.
What did you think about that? Are you going to talk about the halftime show?
Before we get to that, I completely forgot this until you said about the not really that many political commercials. Excuse me on one thing. Wasn't it last week or the week before that we were specifically talking about the visual image advertisement in the brochure or the commemorative brochure or whatever that's handed out to everyone at the game, that the veterans ad was rejected from the NFL because it was political? How the hell did this T-Mobile ad get approved then?
Yep.
That's BS. That is hypocrisy at its finest. The NFL, shame on you. Shame on you. I mean, if you're going to accept that, at least let the veterans ad in.
I agree with the idea, like, wholeheartedly. But in regards to, so the NFL's program, that's obviously their program that they're printing.
Yeah.
The advertising time, is that the channel selling those blocks, or is it the NFL?
No, it's the NFL.
It is? Okay. Yeah. Then,
or NBC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a local level, it's a national.
Yeah. So.
You know.
Yeah. So I don't know if it was the NFL necessarily had a say in who can be a commercial during the Super Bowl or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think they do.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Okay, so while we're on the topic, we're actually going to finally be moving away from the Super Bowl here. But in regards to these ads causing an uproar, we're going to stick kind of on the same topic here, because there was actually another ad that was released that offended people from another influential figure's quote too. So Mercedes-Benz had to apologize to Chinese consumers on Tuesday for an Instagram post showing one of its luxury cars along with a quote from exiled Tibetan spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, whom Beijing considers a dangerous separatist. In a Monday motivation hashtag post on Instagram, Mercedes showed one of its white cars on a beach along with a quote attributed to the Dalai Lama that said, "Look at the situations from all angles and you will become more open." The post soon drew, that is some controversial crap right there.
Yeah.
The post soon drew some criticism from eagle-eyed Chinese netizens. The Dalai Lama fled into exile in India in 1959 after a failed uprising against Chinese rule, though the Nobel Peace Prize winning monk says he simply seeks genuine autonomy for his Himalayan homeland. So the company said, "We will promptly take steps to deepen our understanding of Chinese culture and values, our international staff included, to help standardize our actions to ensure this sort of issue doesn't happen again." No, tell them to calm down. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That's so stupid. To get so offended over this stuff.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, like that quote in particular, I mean, it's...
Okay, the Chinese people know, right? It's not like a Confucius, like those little things.
Fortune cookies?
Yeah, exactly. But could your average person really pick that out and say, "Oh, the Dalai Lama said that"? I don't think so.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the picture was literally... Oh, maybe they say it was along a beach or something like that. But I thought it was a guy like looking in through the window, and it said that, like, take a look at it from all angles. So they'd be like looking at the interior and exterior, and I don't know. It made sense.
Yeah.
So it was so stupid. So this one kind of had me going.
Yeah.
Did you read the article?
I didn't read the article. I heard about the Benioff and Weiss from Game of Thrones are going to be writing.
So Molly Freeman, who's a writer for the website Screen Rant, lived up to the website's name this week when she published an article titled "Majority of Star Wars Films Writers and Directors Are White Men," after it was announced that 2 new trilogies unrelated to the Skywalker family are being produced in the upcoming years. So in the article, she asserts that a new report reveals that in 41 years of the Star Wars franchise, 96% of writers and directors hired by LucasFilm for the movies are white men. So, does she mean that the nerdiest of the nerds are white men? Go figure. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, Variety's Maureen Ryan crunched the numbers in terms of gender and racial representation in major creative roles in the past and confirmed upcoming Star Wars movies. So, for a total of 17 films, including the original, prequels, the current trilogies, confirmed anthologies, Johnson's trilogy, and a new series from Benioff and Weiss, which Ryan estimates will include 3 films, though Lucasfilms did not announce the exact number of movies they'll produce. Lucasfilm hired a total of 24 people in roles as writers or directors. And of those 24 people, all but one were white men. The exception is Lee Brackett, who received a screenplay credit on 1980's The Empire Strikes Back. Ryan summed up her findings. Otherwise, no men of color, women of color, or white women have held these positions. The franchise's leading creative voices have been white men 96% of the time. So before we go into that a little bit further, she said that her findings, writers included anyone who received a screenplay or story credit on the Star Wars film. Ryan also included writers and directors who were fired from or left confirmed Star Wars projects, including Star Wars Colin Trevorrow, as well as Solo's Phil Lord and Chris Miller. However, Josh Trank, who was attached to direct a Star Wars standalone film before departing after the failure of his Fantastic Four, is not included in Ryan's breakdown, though if he were included, the percent calculated by Ryan wouldn't have changed. The breakdown also only includes feature films and doesn't include those who have worked on the Star Wars TV series like Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. There's just too much to go over. But the fact of the matter is, she ended with this statement, right? While it's possible Lucasfilm may hire men of color or women of color and white women for their upcoming films, including those from Johnson, Benioff, and Weiss, many fans are frustrated by the lack of diversity in major creative roles on the Star Wars franchise. And looking at the numbers presented by Ryan, it's clear to see why.
Really?
When's the last time you went into a Star Wars film and you were sitting there and going, man, I can really tell there's no diversity in this in the writers and directors and producers portion of this movie, and it's really making me upset.
Yeah. Like,
who cares about that?
Yeah.
It's all about the ideas. And go ahead, you were about to say something.
Yeah, that doesn't happen. Like what she claimed doesn't happen, and in fact, what has been happening, rightly or wrongfully so, either way you personally believe, people have been complaining on the other direction about the new Star Wars movies, about how every hero is a female and the male heroes like Poe in the new one is basically just an idiot who's not listening.
Yep.
And they're trying to save the animals on the casino planet, saying that the rich people are awful. Like, if anything, the people complaining about diversity are saying there's too much diversity, or it's just being like shoehorned or jammed into the movies for no particular good reason.
Yeah.
Like, I'm seriously wondering when the protests are going to start that the Han Solo movie is the main character is a white male. When are the protests going to start?
Why couldn't Han be black originally?
Yeah. Why couldn't it be a Chewbacca movie and Han be the secondary character?
Hashtag Wookiees are people too.
No, they're not. They're Wookiees.
Hashtag.
Oh man.
So here to me, this is what I wrote down. Okay.
Yes.
Here,
Zara agrees.
About what?
Yep. For example, Rose, her character was awful.
Oh, terrible! Thank you, Zara.
Yeah.
And we talked about what we never ended up doing the review on the movie and everything, but Rose was just one of those characters that, they introduced her as like, this person in this movie is going to be the only one that can fix the problem on the ship at that specific moment, right?
Yeah.
But then Finn walks up and they're bantering back and forth and they realize they both know the same thing. Okay, she's useless now, right? So then they go down to the planet and they go on this whole adventure, which turns out to be fruitless because they don't get the hacker guy, right?
Yeah.
And on top of that, they get back to the ship, and it doesn't matter anyway because it's not going to work. And that whole part of the movie was wasted during a 2-hour chase scene, which becomes irrelevant, right? And then these two, Rose and Finn, have no chemistry throughout the whole movie. And then in one of the final scenes, she's like, "But Finn, I love you." What?
Yeah. And
this is within 2 hours.
And throughout the whole movie, they're kind of teasing at Finn is like, "Where's Rey? Where's Rey?"
Yeah.
Like he likes Rey. He's like cares about Rey. Now all of a sudden he's like in love with Rose, or she's in love with him.
Oh,
with the most awkward kiss scene ever in a movie.
It was bad.
He's just like,
yeah.
Did you die? What happened?
Oh my gosh. Okay,
it
so
just didn't make any sense.
Going back to this though, this writer is basically insinuating something.
So let me just say that white writer did awful.
Yeah,
You know?
she did. So here are some questions that were conveniently left out of the writer's equations in regards to this article. How many writers and directors and producers vied for the job that were minorities? That's not mentioned anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're looking at all these statistics of what ended up being, and applying the accusation to that, not what all happened behind the scenes, right? So that's one question. If more diverse creative people were sought out or applied, what did their portfolios look like in comparison to those who got the job?
Yep.
Just because you shoehorn in diversity in these creative roles doesn't mean that you're going to get a good product.
Yeah.
Which is one of the main points that a lot of people were making in the comments. You know, are you going to throw someone in there for diversity's sake and hope that it turns out to be a good movie? What did the portfolios look like?
Yeah.
There's a process there of evaluating.
You also have to look at who owns LucasFilm now.
Yes.
Disney.
Yes.
Are they some kind of alt-right company, white supremacist
seriously.
company? No, they're not. So they're obviously, if they're hiring a white male writer, it's on the basis of that he's the one that could possibly tell the best story. Because they are, I'm sure they would be all about having a diverse everything, which is fine if they're the best people for the job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, here you go on best person for the job. What was the experience of those people in comparison to those who got the job?
Yeah.
If there, again, were any that applied for that position or proposed a situation. I think a lot of the industry for scripts and stuff like that is a lot of people send scripts and hope that they get picked. You know what I mean? What were those scripts, right? Were there any outrageous demands from those people in order to be considered? Now, I'm not talking like diva stuff like only red M&Ms in a bowl and everything. I'm talking about storylines that would have gone a certain way, right? Because if we know anything as fanboys and stuff, Lucasfilm is very, very tight on how they control the storylines, narratives, and canon of the series, right? Like things have to follow the books. Only certain things can happen a certain way because you screw with the whole canon on everything. So someone proposing an outrageous script, if you're not a white male, can you really be upset for Lucasfilm turning that down when it has nothing to do with the storylines of everything going on in this universe that they have created for the movies and books and television series and everything? There's some Star Wars TV series in the works too.
Yeah.
So these are things that are not mentioned. I can guarantee were not even researched, and it is wholly irresponsible for these writers to make such bold claims that lead people to consider Lucasfilm either as sexist or racist or even worse, both without allowing rebuttal of the claims. And not to mention, I find the research to back such claims lacking, to say the least. What do we got going on there, bud?
My mom's saying how good I look in green.
Thank you. I agree. So, we're going to get
look good in any color.
Oh, there you go. There you go. That's the right answer.
This is the best this shirt has ever looked.
Hey, I wore that last week. It was washed, by the way.
No,
I did
appreciate it.
So the next two stories that we're going to talk about here have a lot to do with freedom of speech, right? Our First Amendment, something that the founders considered to be so important that they put it at the very top of our Bill of Rights. It's the freedom of speech in the First Amendment. Okay.
Yep.
So I'm having a little jaw problem right here. In a story on FaithWire, a Christian baker who refused to make a gay wedding cake scores a major victory. And you're
is this
reading
the main
ahead.
one? The main baker, like that's been the main
No,
national.
not the
This is
Supreme
someone
Court
else.
decision. Yeah.
Okay.
Of all places, this happened in California. Wait till you hear what this judge said, because it's amazing.
Cats and dogs living together.
I don't know what to do with my hands anymore. So, a California judge ruled in favor of a Christian baker who has been under fire over her refusal last August to make a same-sex wedding cake, finding that the state cannot force her to act against her sincerely held beliefs. Kathy Miller, owner of Tastries Bakery, won her victory on Monday with Kern County Superior Court Judge David Lampe drawing an interesting distinctive in the case. Had Miller declined to make a cake that was already made and on display, he said she would have been guilty of discrimination. We've talked about this in the past. If the cake is there and made, and they can buy it, you are discriminating if you're not allowing that sale to go forward.
Yep.
At that point, your hands are clear, But if you are asking someone to go through a creative process for something against their beliefs, that's where the distinction lies.
Yep.
And you just can't make that distinction with the left. But the cake the couple requested had not been made. And it gets a little crazier. Where do I even mention this? It's down a little. Hold on a second. But the cake the couple requested had not been made yet, and according to KBAK, yeah, here it is right here. The baker offered the couple another means to get their cake at a different establishment. That's number one. So again, not kicking them out, not being mean to them. They said, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that for you. But here's another baker that I understand does this for you, and I would gladly recommend them to you, okay?
Yep.
Offering alternatives. That's number one. Lampy went as far as to say that forcing someone to violate his or her religious beliefs would be the stuff of tyranny.
Yep.
Absolutely. So here's the big part that I was getting at, and I brought this up with my wife, and now there's one excuse I can see with this, but this is outrageous, okay? Miller was sued by the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing on behalf of Eileen and Maria Rodriguez del Rio, who had gone to Tastry's Bakery to request a wedding cake. The couple reportedly was already married for 6 months when the refusal unfolded last August. Okay? Now we're getting into some territory that we've talked about before.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was that one that's reached the Supreme Court or one of these other cases that the couple drove 90 miles from their house past a number of secular bakeries, including a Muslim bakery too, to get specifically to a Christian baker who would refuse them service and sued over it. Okay? That shows intent for bringing up this kind of case, right? This couple was married for 6 months and then went for the cake. Now, my wife made a good point, okay? The one situation that could arise from this, that this would actually be the case, is some people get married and have a reception later. Okay? I will give the benefit of the doubt and say that maybe that was the case, right? But again, alternatives were given, and the judge has a great point on this. The controversial legal battle surrounds Colorado baker Jack Phillips' 2002 refusal of same-sex wedding cake. Phillips, much like Oregon bakers Aaron and Melissa Klein and numerous other wedding vendors across the U.S., has found himself in the crosshairs of the government as well as LGBTQ activists after declining to offer his services to a gay couple. Now, that one specifically is what we've been talking about the most lately, which is, I forget the name of the bakery. But it's at the Supreme Court. A decision on that Supreme Court case is expected by this coming summer. Okay. Anything else to say on that at all?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it with the other story. I mean, it's just, why would you even want a cake at your wedding made by someone that didn't agree with what you were doing? It doesn't even make sense to me. Yeah.
And I was actually watching the Rubin Report today. And they were talking. I forget who his guest was. No, actually it was Charlie Kirk. Okay. Who's a big conservative and with Turning Point USA or something like that. And he was saying it's kind of like going to a Muslim banquet hall, right? And demanding that they allow like someone that is anti-Muslim to hold a speaking event at their vending hall, right? And forcing them to do that. It's like, you can't do that. You know? The freedom, the rights of individuals end at the rights of the other individuals that they're going up against.
Going to a Muslim banquet hall and hosting an art gallery by an artist who specializes in portraits of Muhammad.
Yeah, great point. Great point. Absolutely. So this one, I'm sad to say, is a local news story. WFMZ is reporting that Lehigh University faculty are making a motion to rescind Trump's honorary degree. Okay, so faculty from Lehigh University's College of Arts and Science are making their voices heard. They're calling to rescind President Trump's honorary degree despite the university's Board of Trustees deciding to previously take no action regarding a petition concerning the honorary degree given to President Trump in 1988. This is a little old news here. Okay?
Yeah.
30,865 people as of the writing of this article signed the petition started by Lehigh University graduate Kelly McCoy calling for the university to rescind the honor. But the university said it encourages respectful dialogue, discussion, and learning about important societal issues. However, faculty are now making a motion to the Lehigh Board of Trustees to rescind Trump's honorary degree based on his history of documented statements that are antithetical to our core values and beneath the standards for Lehigh's honorary degree holders. The faculty says this motion sends a message to staff and students and to the world that they do not accept demeaning speech that marginalizes people and says the university is expected to lead and uphold the values on which it was founded. They do not accept demeaning speech.
Yeah.
This is what I said in the Facebook post.
Yeah.
Defending anything less than absolute free speech of everything is both anti-constitutional and thereby also un-American. Okay? There is no speech that you should protect more than that with which you don't agree with. Okay? Because once again, we're talking about the power influences and the struggle of the swinging back and forth of a political pendulum, right? Where you give someone so much power because they're in your party, right? And you expect things to go your way all the time, and then it switches power, right?
Yeah.
And now you have given all that power transfers over to the opposition, right?
Yep.
So your lack of agreement with the speech and squashing of those rights from an opinion that you disagree with. Once that power switches hand, they say that your opinion is no longer relevant and you have to be quiet. You've just shot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, totally. It's you know, if they're going to be so anti-American by not supporting all free speech, then maybe they should take away Trump's degree, because it just shows that anyone with a degree from Lehigh shouldn't be president of the United States.
Seriously. In other news, like I also think, in the end, an honorary degree is basically worth about as much as toilet paper anyway. So while I don't care about the degree itself, I am concerned with the positioning of this university when it comes to constitutional rights. So shame on you, Lehigh University. That's ridiculous. And stop caving into the pressure of a bunch of snowflakes.
Yep.
Okay, so we got anything going on there?
No.
I hate this shirt so much. I see what
I
your
do.
comments are.
It's awful.
All right, so according to the Washington Post, Jimmy Kimmel said that late night hosts are liberal because it, quote, requires a measure of intelligence.
So ridiculous.
The comedian made the comments during a live podcast called Pod Save America at the Dolby Theater in Los Angeles, hosted by former Obama administration officials John Favreau, unfortunately, John Lovett. Is that John Lovett from Saturday Night Live?
No, that's John Lovitz.
Lovitz, okay, yeah. Dan Pfeiffer and Tommy Vitor. He said political comedy can be dangerous because hosts risk alienating half of their audience, but it's more important to be honest with viewers than to be universally funny. Wait a second. Has he been trying to be funny this whole time? He needs to try a little harder, obviously. He said, the history of late night television is don't show your hand. Don't tell people what your political affiliation is. I think Jon Stewart really changed that, but when it came to network television, that was really still the case. It wasn't until late in David Letterman's career that we knew what his affiliation is. Jay Leno, I think most people thought he was a Republican, and he's not. He's a Democrat, but you wouldn't know it from watching his show. Well, the internet reacted to Kimmel's remarks by pushing for a debate between him and conservative prodigy Ben Shapiro. Yeah, all in the name of charity. to at least give Kimmel some motivation.
What a skewering that would be.
Austin Fletcher, is that the one that you were talking about with one of the videos?
I think so. The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, like Fletcher Report or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. He tweeted a proposal. Debate for charity, Shapiro versus Kimmel. The goal is to raise $500,000 for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. And the format would be a 1-hour debate moderated by Dave Rubin and myself in Los Angeles. So what they were talking about here is that the proposal actually makes sense, since Shapiro has challenged Kimmel publicly on issues ranging from Obamacare, where Kimmel attempted to use his own son's open heart surgery to emotionally bolster his case defending his support for Obamacare, only to have Shapiro rip his perspective and slam Kimmel for using his child as a prop while noting that his own daughter had the same surgery by the same doctor. And gun control was another issue, especially after the Las Vegas shooting. After Kimmel delivered an emotional rant calling for more gun control in the wake of Las Vegas massacre, sorry, I didn't read ahead, and said Americans' thoughts and prayers were insufficient, Shapiro pointed out the numerous lies that Kimmel propounded. So my encouragement to anyone out there is find this tweet by Austin Fletcher, retweet it, tag Jimmy Kimmel and Ben Shapiro, and call for this debate to happen.
Sure, that would be amazing.
Absolutely. Because you know that Jimmy Kimmel cannot carry himself. If we're talking about a level of intelligence, he has writers that write everything for him. And when they do write it, it goes up on a teleprompter for him. Okay? So make sure he's not wearing a little earbud to one of his writers. Take teleprompters away and see how his intelligence actually holds up against an intellectual.
Yeah. To take into account how smart Jimmy Kimmel really is, he probably didn't even come up with the idea of girls jumping on trampolines. that was probably someone else.
I actually said a great follow-up to this debate would actually be a debate between him and Adam Carolla, who has since turned into a major conservative.
Yep.
You know, from The Man Show. What a difference. What the hell happened to you, Jimmy Kimmel? Ridiculous.
Hollywood sucked him in, you know?
Yep. Am alive. Oh, boy. Here we go. Now we're getting to the good topic here, too. These have all been good topics tonight, though. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau landed in some hot water recently at a town hall when he corrected a woman, or as we like to say now, mansplained, a certain way we should be using a term. And it only went downhill from there in the ensuing days after. So let's take a look at that clip real quick here.
So that's why we came here today to ask you to also look into the policies that religious charitable organizations have in our legislation so that it can also be changed, because maternal love is the love that's going to change the future of mankind. So we'd like you to look
we would like to say people kind, not necessarily mankind, because it's more inclusive.
There we go, exactly. Yes, thank you.
We can all learn from each other.
People, oh my gosh. While a lot in attendance applauded his correction after the town hall, there were some that were not so happy. So critics accused the Prime Minister of mansplaining, virtue signaling, and making up words. But his spokesman said Mr. Trudeau was a proud feminist whose policies reflect commitments to equality. So here's what some of the tweets read. Some of these are pretty classic. Justin Trudeau knows how to virtue signal and mansplain at the same time. Justin Trudeau lands on the moon. That's one small step for people, one giant leap for people kind. Some argued that the word people kind does not exist in the English language. Oh, but it will. Oh, trust me, Webster will put it in there. Here's another good one. I can only assume that Justin Trudeau, when exhausted, lets out a breathy, "Oh, people." Trudeau then held a press conference to apologize for telling a bad joke. So let's go to that clip right here as well.
You all know that I don't necessarily have the best of track records on jokes. I made a dumb joke a few days ago that seems to have gone a little viral in the room on the people kind comment. It played well in the room and in context. Out of context, it doesn't play so well, and it's a little reminder to me that I shouldn't be making jokes even when I think they're funny.
I think he has a pretty great track record of jokes. He is a joke. His whole political career has been a joke so far. I would actually remind you that in that original comment, after he made it and they got the applause from the audience, he turned around and said, "We can all learn from each other." Yeah. This was not a joke. You know, it just played very badly. It played very badly.
From what I heard was that if you would have had the like seen the whole clip from even before what we saw there, apparently she was like, you know, kind of grilling him on things, and so it didn't come off more as a joke, of more as like a sit down and shut up, like just the way to kind of put her down.
Oh yeah,
you know, so like a backhanded comment, you know.
Let's play this out though, right?
Yeah.
So let's say he was joking. Okay, came off bad. Now people are upset with him for trying to use people kind as a term, all right, and put down this whole PC line of BS, right? So now the people that he offended right off the bat by using people kind instead of mankind and correcting her are pissed off because it was a bad joke, right? But then also, if he really was joking, then all the people that applauded that are going to be pissed off as well. So now he's pissed off everyone, right? Let's say that he wasn't joking, though, right? Now he's just lied to the people, right? So this is literally a situation. Well, not literally a situation, because that's overused. This is a situation where he is just digging himself deeper by putting on this press conference, right? But that wasn't the only question that he got. He actually got another question from a veteran that was pretty interesting as well. So let's take a look at that one.
Go ahead, sir. I just want to thank you for coming in the first place. You know, I didn't think, you know, it's a little heckling out here, so appreciate you coming. I just want to know how your stance on ISIS is going to help Canadians in any way. I need to know how you're going to protect future Canadians, like my young daughter, and 10, 15, 20 years from now, when you're letting people in with an ideology that just does not conform to what we're doing here. So, I'd really like to know what your take on things.
Absolutely. No, I think that's obviously, as an open and safe country, we have to make sure that we are taking security very seriously. And the security checks that were gone through before people came here, the way they are followed up on, if necessary in certain cases, the way we ensure that we are keeping our communities safe happens not through building walls or thickening borders, metaphorically. It happens through engaging and giving people pathways to success. It comes through integration and language training and skills training. It comes through our wonderful high schools and public education that allows for kids of all different backgrounds to learn from each other, to grow together, and to work together to build stronger communities. That has been the story of Canada, and it is not one that is in contrast with creating a safer community for your daughter, for our neighbors, for anyone.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
The veteran's question here, which I don't know what he was answering, but it wasn't the veteran's question, okay? The veteran's question was not about controlling integration of immigrants, okay? It was, how do we protect our country with an open border policy from groups like ISIS and these terrorists from getting in and causing havoc, right?
Yeah.
His answer to that is integration, language, teaching the language and everything. It's like, I want to kill you. Well, how about we teach you some French and English first and see if it changes your mind here.
Yeah.
We need to build communities and integrate them in. I want to kill you. Well, would you like a pie first? Like, this is such bad answering of the question. It's not answering the question at all. Like, he's talking about integration of immigrants, and he's conflating the two issues. These are definitely not the same things that these people are talking about. This guy was specifically concerned about a national security issue, and he just goes off pandering to a narrative that the left has been trying to push for how long now? And Justin Trudeau is among the worst. The worst of progressive politicians out there.
So, weren't they having their election too recently when Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank was running against them?
I love it.
He would have been so awesome.
Oh. Yeah. Could you imagine?
They were calling him the Canadian Trump, but he would be so much better.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Than Trump even.
Yeah.
So,
do you watch Shark Tank?
Yeah.
Is he your favorite?
He's one of my favorites.
No, he is my favorite.
Yeah, I like Herzhavec too sometimes.
Yes. Yeah. He was actually at a local diner in New Chipotle.
Yep.
Oh, I shouldn't have said my town. Yeah, he was. It was pretty cool. There was a picture there and everything.
Now you made it very clear it's your town.
Yeah. It's a big country. Listen, we got a lot of guns out there, so I wouldn't come looking for trouble anyway. It's like, I don't know, if you go back to, what was it, a week or two ago, and I posted, actually, my friend Matt, who's been on the podcast, I reposted one of the videos that he posted of a black comedian talking about going to the gun range with his white friends. Did you see that?
No.
Oh my gosh. It is great. He's like, when you go to the gun range with your friends, and he's like, it is not the same. You bring a gun, they bring guns. It's actually, you have to listen to the whole thing though. It's really good.
Yeah.
So you guys can find that on there too. Okay. So while we're speaking of women's issues of late, did you know that there is a slush fund of taxpayer money in Congress that is used to pay out to people who accuse our politicians of sexual harassment and rape? Obviously, in the midst of the hashtag #MeToo and hashtag Time's Up movements and all the Democrats jumping on board to show their support, you would think that our Democrat politicians would be all over ending this fund and holding those accused accountable for their actions. Am I right? Not so much. Instead, it was Representative Mia Love, a Republican representing Utah, that has proposed legislation to stop the taxpayer funding of sexual harassment settlements. So let's take a look at what Mia Love has to say.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank Chairman Harper and also Ranking Member Brady for including the STOP Act in the House administration legislation. Shockingly, the Office of Compliance confirms that hundreds and thousands of dollars have been paid with taxpayer money to settle sexual harassment cases against members of Congress. I am pleased to say that the bill that is before us today incorporates a bill that I introduced last December to stop this practice. H.R. 4674, the Stop Taxpayers' Obligations to Perpetrators of Sexual Harassment Act, will require members of Congress to pay back any taxpayer money used to settle sexual harassment cases. Victims will be compensated, but taxpayers won't be footing the bill. This bill promotes and supports due process. It sends a message that there isn't a set fund out there paid for by the taxpayer ready for someone to access. But it also doesn't encourage a member who feels that they've done nothing wrong to settle so an issue can just go away. If a member of Congress behaves badly, the consequences of those actions are that person's responsibility, not the taxpayers. I believe that members should live by the laws that they create, and the taxpayers should not be responsible for inappropriate behavior. I'd like to thank you, and I encourage my colleagues to vote for this bill. Thank you.
Mia Love is awesome. I don't know if it was last year or the year before that she was at CPAC. She did amazing. Okay. Again,
let's
I'll
see,
be at
Democrats.
CPAC.
Let's see if you vote against the African American female.
Yeah. Wait, she's not a Democrat?
She's not a white man?
Oh my gosh, my world is falling apart.
Cats and dogs living together.
What do I do with my hands? Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Mia Love is an awesome politician. She has such a long future ahead of her in whatever she does. But what?
No,
whatever position she's in politically, But I hope that she's at CPAC this year, which is, again, at the end of this month. I'll be at that. I'm going to try to get some really cool footage. So hopefully I'll be getting some good interviews. I'll be doing the podcast from there, so that should be interesting. It'll be good. It is going to be a good time. I already have a couple people lined up that I'm going to be talking to. So, Mia Love, in this case here, with everything that's been taken up as like mountains or hills to die on, as issues and everything, the left has been going crazy over this kind of stuff. How is it that the media has not laser focused in on the fact that our Congress has a slush fund specifically built up by taxpayer money that's used to quietly make women go away that have been sexually abused, raped, or harassed by our politicians that are elected by us, right? Aren't these types of issues things that should affect positively an election, an upcoming election afterwards, not quietly hushing these people under rugs, right?
Yep.
So where the heck were the Democrats on this issue and taking this up instead of Mia Love?
Yeah.
Again, it's like the whole immigration issue last year with the State of the Union. Do they really care about the people that are involved that they say that they're fighting for, or are they just looking for votes with how they vocally support these things?
Yep.
I think the answer is pretty clear.
Yeah, it's pretty
Agenda
obvious.
to them is greater than the truth.
Yep.
But not here.
Not
the
here.
truth. The truth is greater than the agenda.
That's right.
So, while we're talking about gender issues, you had a story that you wanted to talk about. Do you want me to play the clip first?
Yeah,
or
play
do you
the
want to
clip and then we'll
introduce
talk
it?
about it afterwards.
Okay,
Yep.
so here is one of Mike's articles this week, or topics that he wanted to talk about.
An elementary school canceling its father-daughter dance due to new gender rules. Parents and students are furious with the Staten Island, New York school, citing a state mandate to eliminate gender-based activities. A school official telling the New York Post, quote, father-daughter dances inherently leave people out, not just because of transgender status, just life in general. These can be really uncomfortable and triggering events. The school's PTA apparently planning to reschedule the dance for kids and caregivers of any gender for March 2nd.
So that's where we live now, folks. We live in a world where a father-daughter dance is a triggering event. So like they said in the video, a Staten Island elementary school scrapped their traditional dance, and the Department of Education ordered schools to eliminate any gender-based practices like the dance, because they don't want anything like that unless it has a clear educational purpose.
Oh my gosh.
So basically the school's saying until we understand what we are legally permitted to do, we need to table this event. Tony Bennett, the PTA president, said on Facebook.
Did he sing it?
Yeah. Tony with an I.
Oh,
Tony Bennett. I didn't even notice that when I originally read it. So obviously, a lot of parents were upset by this, right?
Wait, they were triggered by a triggering event?
Yep, they were the ones who were triggered. So one parent, Matthew West, said that they're trying to take away everything that everybody grew up on and has come to know, and I don't think it's fair or right. He has 2 daughters there that go to that school. They should leave it the way it was, father, daughter, mother, son. But PC culture just wasn't having it, and this guy and a lot of other parents hate it. So as a father of daughters, and I have a daughter, if I don't get to go to a father-son, I probably will be a father-son dance.
I have a comment for this.
Yeah, father-daughter dance with my daughter. I'm going to be super mad. Like that's something I've been looking forward to already. So it's just, you know.
We brought this up in regards to the Grammys and celebrities last week. What was the name of that movie? We were talking about the hypocrisy of how Hollywood is just tearing apart Kevin Spacey for raping a 14-year-old boy, but then turn around and promote a movie of the storyline being an adult male in his 20s bringing a 14-year-old boy into adulthood of sex life and like influencing him into a gay relationship, right?
Yeah.
So do you remember the name of that movie?
Call Me By Your Name, I think.
Call Me By Your Name. Okay. You take that. Do you know, I forget what the name of the term is for it now. There's articles out there right now that are actively promoting the fact that relationships are a sham, basically.
Yeah.
That you should always have a third partner involved. You know this?
Mm-mm.
That they're promoting this? Like, I forget the term for it, but essentially, a wife should bring in a boyfriend into the relationship too with her husband, and they share her.
Oh yeah, we talked about it. Yeah, that was from a week or 2 ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So you take these 3 stories into account, right? The promoting of that kind of movie, that kind of relationship, right?
Yep.
This elementary school doing this and canceling because of gender issues and everything, and the fact that you bring in all this stuff. So what's to say that not in the near future, a stepson won't be sharing his father in a dance with his mother? You know what I mean? Like, it's just ridiculous what we're considering. Like, you literally have the left looking at things and saying, this is all okay.
Yeah.
Love is love, man. Just let it go and forget about gender influences and societal norms. And Cats and dogs again.
I was just about to say. What do I do with my hands? So another thing that that one guy pointed out, ironically, he added, for a young trans girl to be taken to a father-daughter dance can feel like a very affirming thing, but now she won't even be able to do that.
That's the thing. These things always kind of backfire on the transgender community because it's just dangerous situations that they actually set up for things, and that's a topic for a whole other time. But a lot of these situations where parents are fighting against the locker room and bathroom situations, like there's literally a case to be made for the safety of the transgender students too, right?
Yep.
It just gets to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
So while we're on the topic of transgender and elementary schools,
okay,
an elementary principal pens a letter telling the community that he's transgender and identifies as male and female. Yeah, there's one of those terms. Tom Daniels.
Fluid.
Yeah. Well, they didn't say that though.
No.
It's one of these crazy terms.
It's not back and forth. It's simultaneously all the time.
Maybe. I'm sure there's a term for that. There's 96 terms for genders now? Tom Daniels, an elementary school principal at Stanley School in Swampscott, Massachusetts. Oh, go figure. Massachusetts has this. That's one of those stories. Told the local community on Tuesday that he is transgender and will be going by his ambiguous middle name, Shannon, going forward. Daniels, who's 52, in a letter published by the Salem News, admitted that he has struggled with his gender identity since he was in elementary school and decided to come out with the news that he is transgender. After confronting a series of challenges last fall, I let myself imagine the possibility of being completely honest with myself and those around me. I can now say it, I am transgender. For me, that means I identify as both male and female, and I plan to move toward presenting myself and identifying as female. What? I am both male and female. Is he talking biologically and because the left will make the distinction between sex and gender, right? Your sex is what you're biologically, right? Your gender is what you choose it to be.
Yeah.
Right? So is that what he's trying to say by I am both male and female, but I'm identifying as female?
Can we?
What?
Yeah. I mean, it's like... How can anyone make sense of any of this?
I just hope he doesn't say, what do I do with my hands? What do I do with these pants?
Yeah.
Daniels wrote in the letter that he doesn't have a particular preference as to what others should call him, writing that, why'd they say him? This writer, oh my word.
Yeah.
Writing that he, she, and they are all acceptable. Can they understand that?
My
and I'm talking about you.
This makes no sense. I identify as male and female, but I'm going to move to just being female, but you can still call me he. I mean, this is a crazy person. That's all it is.
Whoa.
There, I said it.
As I nurture my new identity, I will most likely be presenting myself differently, you think? So, let's see here. Some of the sample language provided by Daniels includes, there are many different ways boys and girls express themselves. It is important that we accept everyone as they are. Principal Daniels may look and sound different, but inside, Principal Daniels is the same caring person. This doesn't change the fact that Stanley School is a great place to be and learn. So, this is something that's going on all over the country, especially in regards to students and everything. I specifically picked out this article because it was in regards to leadership within the school, right? Now, here's one of the arguments that I make and that I know others make in regards to the bathroom, locker room situations, right? If you have an open policy of that you can, by open policy, what I mean is spoken policy.
Yeah.
That you can use whatever bathroom you identify with, right? And it's not written anywhere and specifically laid out that certain people cannot use those bathrooms, okay? And lay that out in writing, right? And what I mean by that is if the spoken policy is anyone can use whatever bathroom they identify with, then you're running into the trouble of adults of the opposite sex going into the bathrooms of the children. Okay? So if you even want to lay it out as in elementary school, no one over the age of this age can go into those bathrooms. Okay? again, my problem isn't with the transgender children themselves. In the case of transgender children, I can't imagine what they're going through, okay, and what they're feeling and all that. You can't put the blame on the kids, right? There's nothing there that there's nothing there to attack, right? But when you have such an open policy that opens them up to dangers, that's exactly what I was talking about before in regards to the students themselves that may be transgender being open to dangers of adults taking advantage of those situations, being the policy itself, okay?
Yeah.
So that's just one thing there. But yeah, so you can find that article on The Blaze and elsewhere as well. It's hard to find boots with heels. All right. Christine Brennan, a writer for MSN.com, wrote an article titled "Gay Figure Skater Declines Chance to Speak with Pence." This was a pretty interesting one, too. Now, this is just... I think all these articles I've picked out tonight have an underlying issue that's not very clear by what the article is stating. It's kind of the undertones of what's actually going on there, right? So in regards to this, it says that Pence was so concerned about the criticism he received from U.S. Olympic figure skater Adam Rippon that his staff went to the extraordinary length of asking the U.S. Olympic Committee to set up a conversation between the two, an offer Rippon turned down. Extraordinary length. Play along with me here for a second. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, is this the manager for Rippon?
Yes.
Do you mind if I talk to him real quick?
No.
Wow, that was an extraordinary length to pick up the phone and make a call. Like this writer must have the most mundane life ever.
Yeah.
You know, moving from the kitchen to the bedroom and the couch and the living room to watch TV are probably like these perplexing things that they have to go through to do these tasks of just moving around. Like this, she writes extraordinary length. It was a phone call. What kind of extraordinary? Like, what did you send out a messenger through the Olympic with the Olympic flame running through cannons going off and everything just to get your? What is it? What is the name of that? The guy that ran through the streets, the British are coming.
Oh, Paul Revere.
Paul Revere. You sent like a Paul Revere type to get this message through dangerous times just to set up a meeting with Rippon? Give me a break. So according to two people with knowledge of the situation who were not authorized to speak publicly about it, a member of Pence's staff requested the conversation with the openly gay Rippon after reading the skater's derogatory remarks about him in a USA Today sports story that has been published online just an hour earlier. The spat between the vice president and the figure skater began when the writer of this article asked Rippon last month about Pence's selection for the ceremonial role of leading the U.S. delegation to the Olympics opening ceremony. Rippon said, "You mean Mike Pence, the same Mike Pence that funded gay conversion therapy? I'm not buying it." So after reading the story online, Pence's press secretary quickly shot back, sending USA Today's Sports a rebuttal to Rippon's comments. And that response said, "The vice president is proud to lead the U.S. delegation to the Olympics and support America's incredible athletes." This accusation is totally false and has no basis in fact. Despite these misinformed claims, the vice president will be enthusiastically supporting all the U.S. athletes competing next month in Pyeongchang. Nailed it. Rippon has said he may meet with Pence after the games, but feels it would be futile as the VP does not share the same values. So much for tolerance and open-mindedness.
I know, right?
Here's what the real issue is with this story. It's not what Pence has done in the past or supported, or the fact that this guy doesn't want to meet with the president because he's gay, right? It's the underlying issue that there is no possibility of conversation in this country anymore. Right? You obviously, from what the VP's secretary is saying, that is not what is going on with the gay conversion therapy. His website at the time of his running for something specifically said some sort of therapy for people that it wasn't gay conversion therapy, let's just put it that way. But the community, the LGBT community, took that up as a call to arms, saying that he must mean this. It's always insinuated. It's always a dog whistle. You know, well, you say this, but you actually mean this because you're a racist and a sexist and a homophobe and a bigot. And
everything else.
Islamophobe, everything, right? It's the fact that if we continue to shut each other out of these simple conversations where we can just correct, like you say something about something I said that I didn't say, and I just want to clear the air with you. Hey, listen, it's not that I hate you for saying it. Let's just clear the air first so that you understand what I was actually doing. That's the way a conversation happens, but that can't happen in America anymore. And then these issues have nowhere to move in this country in either direction, right?
Yep.
If you're going to spout hate for an opposing opinion, then that's all you're doing. You're promoting hatred, right? Yep. Open up a conversation. We talked about this in the beginning of the podcast. Like, start by asking some questions, instead of accusing the person, which immediately brings up that defensive wall, right? Yep. Start asking some questions. Actually take the opportunity to meet with people that are of opposing opinion. Have the conversation, then see where you stand. If you still disagree, that's fine. But demonizing each other is ridiculous. We're not going to get anywhere in this country with anything in either direction, helping anyone out with that kind of conversation skills.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point if not to help people understand where you're coming from and understand where other people are coming from?
Yeah.
Not everything is because I hate you, you hate me. Maybe it's just, a difference.
We're not going to be a big happy family.
Yeah, I know, right? So it's crazy. And, we always talk about Martin Luther King, and how great he was, but everyone forgets that he was all about being peaceful and coming together and, embracing each other's differences, and things like that,
So, according to multiple sources, including the Daily Mail, the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, Representative Adam Schiff, a Democrat of California, was tricked by, did you hear about this? By a pair of Russian comedians.
Yes, I did.
Who offered to give him naked pictures of Donald Trump that they claimed Russian President Vladimir Putin was using for blackmail.
Yeah.
So in an audio recording from last year, Russian comedians nicknamed Vovin and Lexus contacted Schiff as they posed as government officials from Ukraine and offered him compromising dirt on Trump. The Daily Mail reports
I saw this.
That DailyMail.com can disclose that after the prank, his staff engaged in correspondence with what they thought was a Ukrainian politician to try to obtain the classified material promised on the call. So here's just some highlights from that call.
He was in Moscow in November 2013. He met with a journalist and...
Well, she's poor journalist, but anyway, she became famous because of Putin is her godfather.
Okay, Putin's godfather. Okay.
She also known as a person who provide girls for escort for oligarchs, and she met with Trump and she brought him 1 hour Russian girl, celebrity Olga Buzova, who also known as a person with a strange reputation.
Olga, and how do you spell her name?
Olga Buzova.
And what's the nature of the compromise?
Well, there were pictures of naked Trump.
And so Putin was made aware of the availability of the compromising material?
Yes, of course.
Thank you very much. We will be back in touch with you through our staff to make arrangements to obtain these materials for our committee and for the FBI, and I appreciate you reaching out to us.
Woo! Wow. So...
She had with the naked Trump.
Yeah, the picture of the naked Trump. So after a lengthy conversation, which Schiff appeared to take seriously, he told them that he was reaching out to America's intelligence community to forward them the information. He said, I'll be in touch with the FBI about this and we'll make arrangements with your staff. I think it probably would be best to provide these materials both to our committee and to the FBI. So Schiff is one of those representatives that has been actively going after Trump for this whole Russia collusion thing, right? Which they're still trying to pin on just a simple conversation on trying to get dirt on the Hillary campaign, right? That is specifically what they're going after in this case. What is he doing here? He's trying to go through the Ukraine to get dirt on Trump, including naked pictures of him, to compromise and blackmail Trump within the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
This was last April. This is almost a year ago at this point. Oh my gosh. This is like Schiff got caught with his pants down on this one. This is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Now, is he trying to blackmail Trump?
I mean, what else would he do with naked pictures?
questions that maybe shouldn't be answered.
Yeah, probably.
Let's just leave it at that. All right. So according to MSN.com, an obviously liberal bent biased site, the ongoing issue of the FBI lovers continues as text messages reveal that Obama wanted to, quote, know everything. So if you're not familiar with what's been going on lately, because we have not been covering this topic, because to be honest with you, this whole Nunes memo and all this other stuff is kind of like stuff up in the air right now. It's all over the place. What we do know is that the Democrat Party is basically guilty of accusing exactly what they've been accusing Trump of. You know? Before we go on, Russia is a serious problem, okay? They don't care to side with the Republicans. They don't want to work with Trump. They want to seem like they're working with Trump. And they don't want to work with the Democrats. They wanted to seem like they were working with Hillary Clinton. Their objective is against the American people and to cause chaos. Okay, they don't care who's in office. They want us to be foundationally unstable so that they can use it to their advantage. Okay, they have no interest in taking sides at all, but they seem to take sides to cause that instability, right? So that being said, there's all this stuff that's been going on with the memo and the leaking and all this other stuff that the FBI is just like icing on that same cake of like this. Our own FBI was working against the American people too, and against the Trump campaign. This is worse than Watergate. Okay, and I see liberal friends posting little news clips from MSNBC and all these other places that this is a minor thing and that the Republicans are trying to make a big deal out of nothing. This is not a minor thing. Like they actively sought affidavits to use and surveillance systems on the Trump campaign to be used by the DNC and Hillary Clinton specifically to use against Trump in the election, right? And this happened multiple times. And after the original people who proposed the affidavits, he was eventually left. They continued to put in for this stuff. And Obama got involved, and so did James Comey, right? Like, all these things are just layered up and showing how bad things really are. Like, there needs to be a cleaning of the house. And this is not to support Trump in any way. It is just purely on the fact that we cannot have this type of intelligence community with so much power over doing illegal things like this. If they're willing to do it to politicians like that, imagine how little they care about the American people. So newly revealed text messages. Here's the other thing too. I kind of have to explain this because this has been an ongoing story. Peter
Strzok, I think.
Strzok,
is just
okay.
pronounced,
And Lisa Page, okay, are two FBI agents. He was having an affair on his wife with this woman, okay? Lisa Page was his mistress. They both work in the FBI. They're both higher up and everything. They were text messaging back and forth like high school girls. There is a period of time over the election time where there's 10,000 missing text messages between the two of them, okay? Jeez. What the hell is our NASA data center out in Utah that collects everything from everyone? How can we not have those 10,000 text messages? I haven't sent 10,000 text messages in my freaking lifetime. So what the heck are these two doing? You know what I mean? And the fact that these are missing, it has everything to do with what was going on during the election. Well, now, man, Wiener.
It always comes back
Wiener
to Wiener.
comes back to bite you every time, man. It's Wiener. So we're going to get to actually how this whole thing unfolded because of Anthony Weiner and his laptop. My word, that Uma Abedin, like how her and Hillary must be feeling about this guy's like evidence coming back to bite them in the butt every single time. So newly revealed text messages between the FBI, Peter and Lisa, included an exchange about preparing talking points for then FBI Director James Comey to give to President Obama, who wanted to, quote, know everything we're doing. The message from Page to Strzok was among thousands of texts between the lovers reviewed by Fox News. Now, again, I say Fox News, but this is reported by MSN.com.
Yep.
Okay, which is, MSN is liberal.
Yep.
So Page wrote to Strzok on September 2nd in 2016 about prepping Comey because the President of the United States wants to know everything we're doing. According to a newly released Senate report, this text raises questions about Obama's personal involvement in the Clinton email investigation. So we have these text messages going back and forth about Trump and his campaign and spying on that and everything, and them putting in a plan. Now we're going back to the whole Clinton email scandal.
Yeah.
These two are wrapped up in, like, these threads are all coming undone because they're all connected, right?
Yeah.
So in text previously revealed, Strzok and Page have shown their disdain for Republicans in general, as well as Trump, calling him an effing idiot, among other insults. Among the newly disclosed texts, Strzok also calls Virginians who voted against then FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe's wife for a state Senate seat ignorant hillbillies. That text came from Strzok to Page on November 4th, 2015, the day after Jill McCabe lost a hotly contested Virginia state Senate election. And Strzok said of the result, disappointing, but look at the district map. Loudoun is being gentrified, but it's still largely ignorant hillbillies. Good for her for running, but curious if she's energized or never again. So the newly uncovered texts reveal a bit more about the timing of the discovery of hundreds of thousands of emails on former Congressman Anthony Weiner's laptop, ultimately leading to Comey's infamous letter to Congress just days before the 2016 presidential election. So things were so obscure back then during the general election. You know, James Comey was flipping back and forth, and it seemed like he was loved by the Democrats at one point and hated by the Republicans. Then right at the last second, the Republicans loved him and the Democrats hated him. And people were like, what the heck is going on? What is he doing? You know, it's just, you can't figure it out. Now we know all this evidence kept on coming out in both directions, and he's implicated in this stuff. So other texts show more examples of the officials' opposition to Trump. It says on Election Day 2016, Strzok wrote, OMG, this is effing terrifying, all in capital letters, just so you know. Page replied, OMG, I am so depressed. Later that month, on November 13th, 2016, Page wrote, I bought all the president's men. Figure I need to brush up on Watergate. Yeah, not to make things clear or anything.
Yeah.
So the next
I love
day,
how they really are texting like high school girls, too.
OMG.
OMG. This is effing terrifying.
Becky, did you see that? Are you serious? You got to jump on AAM. So the next day on November 14th, 2016, Page wrote, God, being here makes me angry. Lots of highfalutin national security talk. Meanwhile, we have our task ahead of us. Page's meaning here is unclear, but according to the Senate report, coupled with Strzok's August 15th text about an insurance policy, further investigation is warranted to find out what actions the two may have taken. The last text is from Page to Strzok and comes on June 23rd, 2017, when she wrote, please don't ever text me again. Wow. It's unclear whether she was mad at her friend or if she suddenly became aware that they and their thousands of texts had been discovered.
Please don't ever text me again.
Yeah.
We already got to get rid of 10,000 or 100,000 or whatever.
Why?
No more.
They're
No
on
more.
to us. But we are they.
Yeah.
We're the ones that are supposed to be on the people.
Yeah.
Ah, crap. So, quite the interesting array of topics tonight, obviously, and just crazy stuff. Anything else on that at all?
I mean, I'm just curious to see what else is going to come out, because it seems like there's always something new.
It's a thread unraveling constantly. I've been saying this too about my liberal friends who have been saying that this is a big, in Van Jones' words, nothing burger. Right? You have to be arrogantly ignorant. With your head in the sand to believe that this kind of stuff is nothing. Like, you're just not paying attention, okay? If you're going to listen to MSNBC that this memo is nothing, right, without allowing there to be an investigation to see if there is something there, can you trust your government? I would think that over 90% of people would say no to that, you know? And if that's a case, then we need to take a further look into what the heck is going on here. Because, again, the political pendulum, that it always comes down to a political pendulum, right?
Yep.
If you're going to allow the FBI to get away with this, then they're going to get away with it on the other end with someone else that disagrees with your opinion when the opposition gets in.
Yep. You don't want to set the precedent.
If that's not the story of the night.
Yep.
Political pendulum swinging.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So listen, I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. It was a good podcast, a lot of really good topics.
Yep.
Obviously, it's a good night when I get to make Mike here wear an Eagles jersey on a good bet.
Thank God it's
obviously.
over.
Obviously, I see more bets in the future. Not necessarily Eagles stuff, so you can rest easy on that until next football season. But the bets were fun, you know?
Oh, maybe so fun.
Maybe next week we need to get back to... I'll give you a choice. How about this? Next week we're going to get back to either Say What or Watch Your Mouth. So which one would you rather have?
Watch Your Mouth's the one with the...
Yeah.
I think that one.
Watch Your Mouth, you like that one? Okay,
Yeah.
so next week we're going to go back to getting involved with the games and stuff so that it puts it on both of us to write 10 political statements that are funny and try to, come up for the game and everything. So, listen.
Did I just give myself homework?
You did.
Damn it.
It would have been either way. So I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Again, you can find the Generation Y Conservative on Facebook by searching for it. You can also find it on YouTube, where I encourage you to go, because once again, one of the most recent stories we talked about is that YouTube changed their guidelines again. So small creators like myself and others right now are getting screwed by the liberal policies of YouTube and Google, that they've moved the goalpost again. We're right there, just about to start making money on the podcast, and then they changed the parameters to more subscribers. So I encourage you to go there, subscribe to the channel, share it with your conservative friends. Just send out a Facebook message or something like that to people with, hey, go to this and subscribe. I think you would really like it. Or to your liberal friends and say, hey, if you want your blood pressure to shoot up, tune into these guys and comment on the videos and stuff. So I encourage you to do that. If you want to interact with us on Twitter, at Gen Y Conservative without the E on the end. Also, you can catch this podcast rebroadcast on Sundays from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time on KLRN Internet Radio, where they have also put me on the iTunes. So if you're just interested in listening to the podcast audio only, which, listen, I don't know why you wouldn't want to look at our faces. Obviously, we look good in these jerseys. So you can always subscribe to the iTunes podcast there as well. Again, one thing I want to remind you of is at the end of this month, it is now what is today's date? Today's the 8th. Okay, so at the end of this month, on the 22nd through the 25th, I will be down at CPAC at National Harbor in D.C. So if anyone tunes in that happens to be going to the convention, seek me out and find me, or shoot me a message or something. I'd be happy to meet up with people. And it's kind of cool to meet people. I'm going to be doing some really cool interviews while I'm down there. I'll be volunteering at the event, so that kind of gives you some extra access that the regular crowd doesn't get. It's really cool when you get to actually rub elbows with these people that you just talk about all the time. You know? So look forward to that podcast. That's coming up in a couple weeks, and those interviews as well, because that's going to be what that podcast consists of, is a bunch of different random things from that event, which will be really cool. Until next week, when Mike takes off this glorious jersey, have a great night, and God bless America.